Hey guys, let's talk about this week's episode of Almost Human. And I don't know, guys. Okay, let me just say this right off the top. I do enjoy this show. And I think that it has potential to be a much better show. And I feel like I say this every single week, but it's true. The things that are working are our three main characters, and that is John Kennex, and Dorian and Rudy. And I find Rudy, a charming, awkward, goofy, scientisty guy who, is stuck in a lab all day, has really no people skills, doesn't know how to interact very well, but yet has a great imagination, and we got to see that play out in this episode. He played a really big part in solving this case this week, and his personally came out, and he was dressed in a well-tailored suit, and he put on the hat, which was, I believe, a little ode to Breaking Bad. We had some interesting stuff play out, which was kind of like the futuristic meth lab that was being portrayed in this episode. And of course, Dorian and Kennex were trying to figure out who the producer of this stuff was. And, we ultimately find out that it's like, a crooked chief captain who's been like the big drug lord kingpin in this case. And, that's fine and everything. And if they're going to continue with the story of the week aspect of the show, then I think I need to change my outlook on how I'm going to watch this show. Because to me, that's not enough. And I think that the show is better than that, to be honest. And I keep going back to the pilot episode when we got a great revelation at the very end that his ex-girlfriend is the one who set him up and is behind, or was behind, the betrayal and the loss of all of his partners. And I think that there's a lot of great material that we can get from that. And then in last week's episode, we saw him go and reach out to the son of his fallen partner. And we didn't really get a follow-up to that again in this episode. And what I found out was that they're actually airing these episodes out of order, which makes sense in terms of why each episode feels so disconnected from the one before. But it doesn't make sense in the overall story of what you're trying to tell me if you're telling me that you can take an episode that you shot 7th and air it 4th. Like, what? So I found like some of the banter that was going on between John and Dorian in this episode felt like it was more like they were just still working out the kinks in their friendship, where last week and the week before it felt like they were old chums and like they were able to throw these little digs at one another because they had gotten past all that, well, I don't want to work with a synthetic, and I'm part human too, and I have feelings, all that kind of stuff. But it felt like we fell back on that this episode. And if I'm finding out that this episode was actually aired 7th, but we're getting that, what? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, and what also concerns me is that if you're airing these out of order, then what does that mean for the story that you're trying to tell me? Is it basically that it's just going to be a case by case week, and that we're not going to be working on a storyline that gives us, more about what happened in the pilot, like the syndicate, all this, like this criminal organization that we once talked about, I believe in episode 2, and now we've lost track of that. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the show is much better than this, and I believe it's the creators that did Fringe, and I believe that that show had its own cult following, and it didn't try to appeal to the mass audience. And I'm okay with that. If you want to have a show that's a little off the beaten path, but you are telling a great story, then I am all in 100%. But if you're trying to fall back on, let's try to make this CSI, NCIS, and grab like this audience because your show is just like paint by numbers and very pedestrian, then I'm really not interested in that show, because there's so much interesting stuff you can do. One, with the fact that you're talking about a life that's 35 years in advance and technology that we haven't quite seen yet, but we're on the brink of seeing stuff like that, and things that, we wouldn't really understand now because they're only going to happen in 35 years. That's interesting. That's fascinating to me. You can only rely so much on the witty banter, which I do like, between Kennex and Dorian, and the awkwardness of Rudy. I enjoy all that, but that can only take us so far. And I find that they're really missing a key, crucial part of what's going to draw in viewers like myself. Maybe I'm not a viewer that you want, but the shows that I really can appreciate are the ones that take those risks. And I've been a huge fan of Sleepy Hollow this season, and that show is just crazy, and I'm loving every second of it because the writers and creators know that the show is so crazy and off the beaten path, and they are going full steam ahead with it, and they're doing it in a way where this is the world, this is what we've created, and this is where we're going. Where I feel like you guys have created this world and it's crazy and it's cool, but we're not committing to a storyline that's keeping my interest from week to week. It's just pretty much, this is the case. Last week it was that case. The week before it was about, like creating, and that was really cool when they were creating these humans, or they were giving them the DNA of humans to create these, prostitutes or ladies of the night type people. But that was fascinating because you were taking a part of human DNA to create these people, and what does that mean for the future, and you know what I mean. So I don't know, guys. I mean, I am a fan of the show, but I'm just shy of saying that this is just an average show right now. It really is. So I hope it changes sometime soon. I'm not sure how many episodes they got picked up for this season because it did start a bit late in the season, but I'm going to be there, and I'm hoping that it'll just get a little bit better. Actually, a lot better. All right, guys, that's been my review of Almost Human. And one of the things that I thought was actually really cool in this episode was the fact that John killed the captain, the chief, the crooked cop, because he didn't have to kill him. He could have taken him in, but he decided to go the other way, and he like shot him right in the head. So what does that mean for Kennex? I thought that was really cool. So if they keep that up, I'm in. Okay, guys, that's now my review of Almost Human. I'll see you guys next week. Okay, bye.